As the world was engulfed in the flames of World War II from 1939 to 1945, the earth itself seemed to weep. Its soil soaked with the blood of soldiers and civilians alike, this was an era when humanity's darkest nature was laid bare. The human cost of the war became a haunting specter that still lingers in the collective memory of nations. In the treacherous waters of the Atlantic, German U-boats, termed Wolfpacks by their commander Admiral Karl Donitz, prowled with lethal intent as silent predators of the deep. Their torpedoes cut through the waves, targeting not just military vessels but also civilian merchant ships. These unassuming vessels, vital lifelines supplying the war effort, became submerged tombs, taking with them thousands of souls into the cold embrace of the ocean. In 1942 alone, over 1,200 Allied ships were sunk, a testament to the silent, unseen terror that lurked beneath the waves. On the other side of the world, in the sweltering jungles of the Philippines, the infamous Bitan Death March unfolded in 1942 after the fall of Bitan. Over 76,000 American and Filipino troops were subjected to unspeakable brutality as they were forced to march 65 miles. Their path was a gauntlet of suffering, where the fallen were often left where they lay or met with the cold finality of a bayonet. The death toll mounted to over 10,000 souls, their lives a testament to the cruelty of war. Yet amidst the darkness, there flickered glimmers of hope and humanity. The Kindertransport, a remarkable rescue mission between 1938 and 1940, saw nearly 10,000 Jewish children spirited away from the clutches of Nazi persecution to the safety of Britain. These trains, carrying the innocent away from the shadow of the swastika, were beacons of light in a time shrouded in darkness. In the early morning hours of September 8, 1941, a chilling silence fell over the city of Leningrad. The encircling German forces, under the command of Field Marshal Wilhelm von Leeb, had completed their stranglehold on this jewel of the Soviet Union. The siege was part of Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's grand plan to conquer the Soviet Union. What ensued was not merely a military blockade, but a harrowing test of human endurance and spirit that would stretch on for 872 days. Hitler, in his chilling disregard for humanity, had declared that Leningrad must die of starvation, setting the stage for one of the most brutal sieges in history. The Germans, confident that the Soviet forces would soon collapse under the pressure, underestimated the resilience of the people they were about to torment. As winter descended, the citizens of Leningrad found themselves trapped in a vise of ice and enemy fire. The Nazis, intent on erasing the city from the face of the earth, cut off all supply routes save for the perilous path across Lake Laguet, later known as the Road of Life. This frozen lifeline, often under bombardment, was the city's only link to the outside world. Within Leningrad, life quickly descended into an unimaginable nightmare. The city, once a vibrant cultural and industrial hub, was now surrounded by a relentless enemy force determined to starve it into submission. Food rations dwindled to a mere 125 grams of bread, often bulked out with sawdust or other inedible materials per person, per day. The harsh winter set in, and temperatures plummeted to extreme lows, freezing the streets and forcing residents to battle both hunger and the biting cold. The situation was so dire that the citizens of Leningrad were forced to resort to eating anything they could find, including dogs, rats, and even leather from shoes. As the siege continued, disease began to spread uncontrollably. Typhus, dysentery, and other deadly illnesses swept through the population, aided by the lack of food, clean water, and sanitation. Hospitals, overwhelmed by the sheer number of sick and wounded, could do little more than offer some comfort to the dying. Yet despite the relentless suffering, the people of Leningrad did not break. The human spirit proved more resilient than even the most brutal conditions. In every corner of the city, people fought for survival. They shared what little they had, taking turns standing watch for air raids, and doing everything they could to maintain a semblance of life amidst the despair. The renowned Soviet composer Dmitri Shostakovich, witnessing the agony of his beloved city, remarked that the blockade was a time of terrible deeds. Yet amid the despair, the city pulsed with an unyielding resolve. The sound of air raid sirens became a constant backdrop to life, but so did the determined voices of those who refused to let the siege break their will. The Hermitage Museum's treasures were hidden away from the enemy's reach, but the empty frames remained hanging, a symbol of belief in the city's future. In the midst of the horrors, academic institutions continued to operate. The besieged university remained open, with lectures continuing in makeshift classrooms. This unwavering commitment to knowledge and culture became a beacon of hope for Leningraders, a reminder that even under siege, the city would not give up on its intellectual and cultural legacy. Professor Elena Skina, who endured the siege, noted in her diary, "We all believed that we had a duty to our city and our country in the hour of danger." This sentiment was shared by countless others who stood resolute in the face of unimaginable hardship. As food became increasingly scarce, neighbors shared what little they had, and volunteers organized collective efforts to distribute the limited supplies that reached them. Despite the absence of basic comforts, people continued to hold on to whatever semblance of normalcy they could. Social clubs, theaters, and makeshift cultural events continued, offering a brief escape from the suffocating grip of the war. The most remarkable example of Leningrad's resilience was found in the survival of its art and music. The Hermitage Museum, one of the world's most celebrated collections of art, managed to save its masterpieces by hiding them in basements and secret locations. The treasures of Russian culture, including works by Rembrandt, Leonardo da Vinci, and Michelangelo, were safeguarded at great risk. Meanwhile, in the darkest of times, music became an expression of defiance. Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, composed during the siege, became a symbol of resistance. Its performance on August 9, 1942, by the starving yet undaunted musicians of the Leningrad Radio Orchestra was not just a cultural triumph, but a resounding declaration of the city's resilience. The melodies, carried by loudspeakers, pierced through the city's ruins and even reached the German lines, unsettling the enemy with the unspoken message, "Leningrad will not capitulate." The music, filling the air in the midst of such suffering, embodied the strength of the Leningrad people. The very fact that they could still produce such beauty, even while facing death at every turn, spoke volumes about their determination to survive. One can imagine the haunting echo of the symphony floating above the wreckage, as if to say that even amidst the darkness, Leningrad's spirit would endure. The indomitable spirit of the Leningraders was perhaps most vividly embodied in the miraculous survival of Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, composed during the siege. Its performance on August 9, 1942, by the starving yet undaunted musicians of the Leningrad Radio Orchestra served not just as a cultural triumph, but as a resounding declaration of resilience. The melodies, carried by loudspeakers, pierced through the city's ruins and even reached the German lines, unsettling the enemy with the unspoken message, "Leningrad will not capitulate." The performance of the Seventh Symphony became an enduring symbol of defiance against the Nazi regime. Though the musicians were hungry and exhausted, they played with a passion that transcended the dire conditions surrounding them. The orchestra's conductor, Karl Eliasberg, later reflected on the performance, stating that it was more than just music. It was a powerful statement to both the citizens of Leningrad and the enemy. The sound of their music, blaring from loudspeakers across the city, signaled that despite their suffering, the soul of Leningrad would never be broken. The plight of the children of Leningrad, though heart-wrenching, was also a testament to the city's resolve in the face of death and destruction. Schools continued to operate despite the lack of food and supplies. Children, many of whom were orphaned or separated from their families, continued to study, their eyes wide with both curiosity and fear. Makeshift theaters and art classes were organized for the young souls whose world had turned upside down. Art, music, and education became lifelines for many, offering a semblance of normalcy in the chaos. One prominent figure in the siege, Anna Petrovna Ostrova-Lebedeva, a prominent artist, volunteered to teach children, believing that art could bring light even in the darkest times. Despite her own struggles and the loss of family members, she remained committed to the children, offering them a chance to express their emotions through drawings and paintings. The children's works, often filled with images of war and destruction, became both an outlet for their grief and a testament to their perseverance. The psychological toll of the siege on the children was profound. Forced to live in constant fear, hunger, and despair, many children developed a deep sense of isolation. Yet, they displayed remarkable resilience. Some children, unable to understand the full scope of the war, created vivid drawings of their lives before the siege, often depicting scenes of happier times before the bombings and starvation began. These works, though simple, spoke volumes about the human need to hold on to hope, even in the bleakest of circumstances. Despite the crushing weight of their suffering, acts of kindness and humanity abounded. Neighbors shared their meager rations, offering what little they had to keep each other alive. The city's community spirit remained strong, and even in the face of imminent death, people risked their lives to help others. Many Leningraders, even those who were sick and starving, went out of their way to provide comfort to the wounded, offering them a warm embrace, a kind word, or a simple meal, even if it meant sacrificing their own survival. The resilience of the Leningraders also manifested in their ability to adapt and find inventive solutions to the challenges they faced. Faced with extreme food shortages, people began to forage for whatever they could find. Some scavenged in the ruins of destroyed buildings, hoping to find scraps of food. Others turned to fishing in the frozen waters of Lake Ladoga, despite the dangers posed by the surrounding bombardments. These efforts, though often futile, were part of the larger fight for survival. The city also witnessed extraordinary acts of selflessness. Dr. Anna Marley, a physician during the siege, tirelessly treated the wounded and ill, even when the medical supplies had run out. He risked his life to administer what little care he could, driven by an unshakable belief in the power of humanity. In the hardest of times, our humanity was our greatest weapon, he said, reflecting on his experience during those harrowing months. His words echoed the thoughts of many Leningraders who, despite their dire circumstances, continued to fight for their city and for each other. By the time the siege was finally lifted on January 27, 1944, the city of Leningrad was barely recognizable. The toll of the siege was catastrophic. Over 1 million people died, many of them from starvation, disease, or bombing. Yet the spirit of the city had not been broken. Leningrad had endured the unendurable, and though the scars left by the siege would never fade, the people of Leningrad proved that no force, no matter how powerful, could extinguish their will to survive. The liberation of Leningrad marked a turning point in World War II, not just militarily but symbolically. The Soviet Union, despite its hardships and losses, had withstood the Nazi war machine. Leningrad's survival became a rallying cry for the rest of the Soviet Union, a testament to the strength and determination of the Russian people. For the citizens of Leningrad, the end of the siege was not just a victory, it was a vindication of their sacrifice, a reaffirmation that, no matter how dark the times, there was always hope. As the siege lifted on January 27, 1944, the world looked upon a city that had endured the unendurable. The cost was staggering. The lives lost numbered in the millions, the city itself a shadow scarred by famine and bombardment. Yet Leningrad stood unbroken in spirit, a testament to the resilience of its people. Dmitry Leov, a survivor of the siege, poignantly captured the essence of this resilience. Leningrad does not merely exist in space and time, it lives in the hearts of all who fought for it, suffered for it, and triumphed with it.